We shouldn't talk about this may contain graphic descriptions and/or explicit content that may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, everybody. I'm Key,
And I'm B.
and this is We Shouldn't Talk About This.
Hello, Key.
Hi, V. How are you today?
Oh, I am doing pretty good. It's been a good day. How about yourself?
It's been a good day. It's a Friday, and the sun is still out, even though it's almost 8 o'clock. It's going pretty good. But I do want to say I apologize in advance to anyone who was disappointed we didn't have an episode last week. It was 100% my fault. I had a lot on my plate and I just could not record.
Well, I apologize also, and thank you, Key, for taking full responsibility because I had nothing to do with it.
Well, thanks for, I guess I threw myself under the bus, but thanks for not trying to stop the bus. You just full speed ahead. Went
Yeah,
on.
I will attest to the situation. Yeah, that bus was going, and I let it go. I didn't do nothing.
So, when Speed 3 comes out, we know who to cast. Wait, was there already a Speed 3?
I
No, Speed 2 was the boat. Yeah, Speed 3. You're number one because you will not slow down. Let the bus keep it moving.
Speed 3 had a trailer,
Oh
but
Lord, it must have been awful.
it may have been a fake trailer though.
Oh, well, whichever one is next, make sure you audition for it.
Got it. I'll be there with Keanu.
Yes.
So we have a treat today for our listeners. If they sit and stay, they'll get this treat.
Ooh, I'm guessing I also will get the treat because I have no idea what it is.
Well, Key, today we are talking about crimes against prized pets.
Oh,
Now,
well,
could you imagine having uh like a dog that you trained and bred perfectly and won awards back to back at different shows, but then something dastardly happens to it. Could you imagine?
oh my gosh, I could not.
Well, I cannot either because I would go on a manhunt if something happened to any of my pets.
I am kind of, sort of on. Okay, I guess I just don't get attached to my pets that tightly. I know I feel
Don't
like
get
a horrible person
attached.
saying that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like you're the kind of
Like,
person to name a dog.
no, I'll give it a real name. Like, okay, so I have a lizard, but she's very sometimey. Sometimes she likes to be cuddly, sometimes she doesn't. And then I'm like, if you just like ran out the door, I wouldn't chase you. Like, I just wouldn't.
You let nature run its course.
I would, like, whatever happens, happens. If she gets free and, runs away, then hey, it was meant to be like that.
Oh my gosh. Well, listeners, be happy that Key is not your owner. If she would let you go. She would not stop you.
If somebody stole her, I would try to get her back. But if she just left of her own volition, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's her life. If you want to be out there riding the rails and scrounging for food instead of being hand fed premium worms, that's on you. Who am I to stop you?
Very true. Very true. I get that.
Do you remember the dog we had, Bear? He used to like break loose all the time, but he always came back.
I
Now,
think I remember Bear. I think so.
he was like kind of small and fluffy, and he was all black with like a white patch, and he was like kind of sort of standoffish, but he was hard headed, but he was really sweet. It was when we had Max.
You got a dog
And
named Max?
Maximilian, oh my gosh, you don't remember Maximilian?
I don't think so.
The it was the wolf husky.
Hmm, not ringing any bells.
Wow, oh my gosh. Anyway, Bear and Max, we had both of them at the same time, and Bear used to always like get out and run wild, and he would come back though, but he was super sweet. Like I did love Bear, and every time I go by that neighborhood we used to live in, I look for him like he will really be out there, even though it's been like 20 years or so.
That would be an old dog. It'd be
He would,
140 dog years.
and he would still probably be running free. Oh, little Bear.
Little bear. Okay, I think this week you should start our journey down a pet thievery or pet missingery lane.
Okay, well, I do have a tail. It's not so much, I guess you really wouldn't call it a pet. It was more of a show horse, a racehorse.
Okay, okay.
But, I'm pretty sure that the guy really had attachments to it like a pet. I'm sure he did. 100% sure. At least the person who was taking care of it probably did. So, gather round, children. It's time for a tale of crime. Now, my story is about Sugar the thoroughbred. And Sugar was a thoroughbred bay colt with a white blaze, which is like the front of their face, their nose part, like from the eyes to the nose, that part was white. Four
Okay.
white socks and a walleye. And a walleye is a term used when instead of a full blue eye, the eye is partially blue, partially brown. So he was foaled, which means born in horse language. He was foaled on March 3rd, 1978, at Shishun, the oldest continuously operative stud in both Ireland and England, and was the first Irish farm purchased by the Aga Khan family in 1923. It's the private stud of the Aga Khan IV, which is Prince Shah Karim Al Husseini, and it's near the Carraga Racehorse in County Kildare, Ireland. Shigar was sired by great nephew, a British stallion. Shigar's dame was Charmine, a seventh generation descendant of Mumtaz Mahal, a horse that is described by National Sporting Library as one of the most important brood mares of the 20th century. She must have been putting out racehorse after racehorse after racehorse, like all her babies. I don't know what you call baby horses. Must have been winners.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. Title to receive.
Yeah, like so Shigar came from a good lineage, and he was sent to training with Michael Stout in 1979 as the Aga Khan's second year of sending horses to England. So, according to Michael Stout and Ghislaine Dorian, who was the manager of the Aga Khan's Irish studs, Sugar was easy to break and had a good temperament. He responded very well to training. Now, on September 19th, 1980, Sugar ran his first race, the Chris Plate, with Lester Piggott as his jockey. The race was open to 2-year-old colts and geldings, and it was over a 1 mile straight at Newbury. Sugar won by 2.5 lengths, which is not a standard measurement. It's like the length of the actual horse. So it would be 2.5 Shigars behind was the next horse.
Jeez.
After the race, Stout said the horse would run one more race that year to gain experience before resting until the following year. Sugar's second race was the 1 mile William Hill Futurity Stakes at Doncaster, run on October 25th, 1980. He was again ridden by Piggott, and Sugar came in second. Now, here's a little kind of a breakdown of his races that led to what happened to him. On April 25th, 1981, at the Guardian newspaper classic trial run at Sandown, Sugar raised his pace after a mile and won by 10 lengths in a 9 horse, 1 1/4 mile race.
That's a fast
10
horse.
lengths, right?
Wow.
On June 3rd, 1981, Sugar ran in the Derby, set over a 1.5 mile course at the Epsom Downs Racecourse in Surrey. The Derby is a Group 1 flat race open to 3-year-old thoroughbred colts and fillies. Sugar was well paced and moving through the runners. At Tattenham Corner, which was the final bend of the course, Sugar took the front of the race and opened up a lead over the other horses and won by 10 lengths again. Following Sugar's Epsom Derby win, a group of U.S. horse owners had offered $40 million to syndicate the horse. The Aga Khan turned down the offer and instead decided to syndicate Sugar for 10 million at 250,000 pounds. So these are he did it for 10 million pounds at 250,000 pounds for each of the 40 shares. So basically, he divided the horse into 40, and if you had the money, you could get a share of them. And that was a record price at the time.
Mighty impressive.
Now, the Aga Khan kept 6 shares for himself, and the other shares were sold individually to buyers from 9 countries. The shareholders had the option each year of selecting a mare to be covered or of selling that option on. The stud fees were 60,000 to 80,000 per cover, which meant that each shareholder could expect to make a profit from studs within 4 years. Sugar had a break of almost a month until he ran in the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Diamond Stakes at Ascot on July 25th, 1981. The race was slow paced to start, but Sugar accelerated to win by 4 lengths. That entered him into what would be his final race, the St. Leger Stakes at Doncaster on September 12th, 1981. Now, Sugar was running well in the race, but on the final straight, when the jockey tried to get him to accelerate to the front, the horse would not respond. Sugar came in fourth, which was 11.5 lengths behind the winner. Surprised by the manner of the loss, Stout and Aga Khan ran a series of tests on Sugar. All showed that the horse was in good health and he worked well in training after the race. But unwilling to risk the horse without knowing what had happened at the St. Leger, the Aga Khan did not enter him into the Arc, which was like a really big race that was coming up. Instead, he retired him to the Ballymeni stud near Curragh. So he had a very short lived season, but he was really a good racehorse. And I kind of give it to the Aga Khan. Like, he did not want to risk the horse's life by forcing him to run if something was wrong and they just couldn't figure out what.
Right, right.
So that's why I say I think he really did care about the horse because, he could have easily been like, okay, well, all the tests are good. Let him race.
Yeah, let's
You
get
know,
back out here.
right? Let's make me some money. But instead, he retired him so that he could just be a stud, which I'm sure very few horses would complain about. Now, in 1982, which was his only rutting season, Shigar covered 44 mares, which 36 fowls were produced, 17 colts, and 19 fillies. At the start of February 1983, Shigar's second stud season was about to begin, and he was in high demand and had a full book of 55 mares to cover. He was expected to earn £1 million for the season. So he was in high demand. Like 55 mares. Could you stud 55 women for £1 million?
I
Don't
would.
answer that.
Okay.
Now on February 8th, 1983, around 8:30 p.m., three men, all armed and wearing masks, entered the house of Jim Fitzgerald, the head groom at the Ballymany. They were part of a group of at least six and possibly up to nine men. One of the men said to him, "We've come for Shigar. We want $2 million for him." Fitzgerald's family was locked into a room while he was taken at gunpoint out to Shigar's stable and was told to put the horse in the back of a horse box. The horse box was driven away, and Fitzgerald was told to lie on the floor of a van, and his face was covered with a coat. He was driven around for 4 hours before being released near the village of Kilcock, approximately 20 miles from Ballymany. He was told not to contact Garda Síochána, which is the Irish police, or he and his family would be killed, but to wait until the gang contacted him. He was given the code phrase King Neptune, which the gang would use to identify themselves. Fitzgerald walked to the next village and called for his brother to pick him up. On arrival back to Ballymany, he rang Gisang Dorian to inform him of the theft and urged him not to call the police because of the threats that had been made. Dorian attempted to reach the Aga Khan in Switzerland to inform him and then called Stan Cosgrove, Shigar's vet, who was also a shareholder. Cosgrove, Cosgrove contacted a retired Irish Army captain, Sean Barry, who was the manager of the Irish Thoroughbred Breeders Association. Barry contacted Alan Dukes, a friend of his who was serving as the Minister for Finance, who suggested that Barry speak to Michael Noonan, the Minister for Justice, excuse me. Noonan and Dukes told him to call the Gardaí. So all of that playing telephone just to call the
Yeah,
police at the end.
that is
They
crazy.
were like, just call the police. So by 4 a.m., Dorian had managed to contact the Aga Khan, who told him to phone the police right away. They were then contacted, but it was 8 hours after Shigar had been stolen and any possible trail had already gone cold. So the first call from the thieves was on the night Shigar was stolen. Fitzgerald was not back at the Ballymania at that time and had not had the chance to tell the news of the theft to anyone. The call was basically pointless because like nobody knew what was going on. So the next call was to Jeremy Maxwell, a horse trainer based in Northern Ireland. The caller demanded £40,000, although his figure was later raised to £52,000. Maxwell was told that the negotiations would only be with three British racehorse journalists, Derek Thompson and John Oaksey of ITV, and Peter Campling from The Sun. The men were told to be at the Europa Hotel in central Belfast by Thursday evening. Now, for those who don't know, the Europa was known as the most bombed hotel in Europe after having suffered multiple bomb attacks during what the time that was called the Troubles.
The Troubles.
Yes. So, when the three sports journalists arrived at the Europa, they were contacted by phone and told to go to the Maxwell's house and await further calls. There were a series of calls to the Maxwell's house later that night, and at 1:30 a.m., Thompson managed to keep the caller talking for over 90 seconds, which would have been enough to trace the call, but he was told that the person who was doing the call intercepts had finished his shift at midnight and gone home. So,
What?
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So at 7 a.m. on February 12th, another call was put through to Maxwell's house, which said things had gone wrong and Shigar was dead. On that same day, the thieves contacted the negotiators and said that proof had been left at the Rosenaire Hotel. When this was picked up, it contained several Polaroid pictures showing Shigar. Some of the pictures showed the horse's head next to a copy of the Irish News dated February 11th. Cosgrove saw the photograph and confirmed it was definitely him, although he added it wasn't proof the horse was still alive. At that point, you want to get much more definitive evidence. If you'd seen the complete horse, it would have been different, but this was just the head.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, one call said, you know, things went awry, the horse is gone. The next call was like, nope, here's proof. He's still alive. We were just playing. So, looks like they just couldn't make up their minds on how to threaten them.
Yeah, they weren't communicating too well on that.
No. Now, in the telephone call from the thieves to the negotiators at 10:40 p.m. on February 12th, it was explained that the syndicate were not satisfied with the pictures of the horse, which they explained did not constitute enough proof. The caller told the negotiators, quote, "If you're not satisfied, that's it." The call was ended and the thieves never made any further contact. The syndicate attempted to reestablish contact with the gang, but there was no response and they couldn't get back in contact with them. Now, the syndicate committee put together a full report which examined the possible motives behind the theft. They concluded that the theft of Shigar was either undertaken to create confusion and publicity rather than obtaining money, or that the negotiations were undertaken with naivete. They reached this
Naivete.
conclusion by after taking a number of factors into account. Many of the demands were physically impossible. The demand included 100-pound notes, which did not exist.
What? we
Right.
want we want $1,000 bills for this guy.
In one call at 5:45 p.m. to Dorian in Ballymoney, he was told to deliver the 2 million pounds to Paris before noon the following day. In a call at 5 p.m., the Paris negotiators were told to get 2 million pounds by the end of the night, after the Parisian banks had already closed. In another call, the negotiators in Paris were told to get agreement for a ransom, but also that he shouldn't contact anyone in Ireland despite some of the shareholders being there. It also became clear during the course of the negotiations that the gang thought that the Aga Khan was the sole owner of the Shigar or of Shigar. They had no knowledge of the other shareholders and did not take into account the complexity of liaisoning and organizing all 35 shareholders into a position of agreement, which would be, you know, hard to get them to agree because, you can't negotiate or pay on behalf of the others. You're never 100% sure that Shigar would even be returned after the money was paid.
Right, right.
And if the kidnappers' demands were met, it would make every high value horse in Ireland a target for future thefts. So the
That's
shareholders
true.
themselves were like divided on the approach. Now, Brian Sweeney, a veteran of the American racehorsing industry, thought that, quote, if you ask a mother who had a child that had been kidnapped if a ransom should be paid, I think the answer would be yes and quickly. Another shareholder, Lord Derby, disagreed and said, quote, if ransom money is paid for this horse, then there is a danger of other horses being kidnapped in the years to come, and that simply cannot be tolerated. So I think they both had valid points, like, but again, it's 35 people that have to come to an agreement.
Yeah, I come to a solid conclusion. That's gonna be very, very tough.
Right. So that is another thing that led the syndicate to believe that they did not know that Shigar was like property of shareholders, not of one sole person, which would be the Aga Khan. Now, Shigar's body has never been recovered or identified. There have been several claims of equine skeletons being that of Shigar, though. Des Leedon, a specialist horse vet with knowledge of equine pathology, has assisted the police in several instances where a horse's remains may have been those of Shigar, but unfortunately it was not. However, Leedon retained some strands of hair from Shigar's mane and tail, which he says may contain sufficient DNA to confirm an identification. Now, in 1999, in honor of Shigar, the Shigar Cup was inaugurated at Goodwood Racehorse Course in a format that put a European team of jockeys against one from the Middle East. The race was later moved to the Ascot Racecourse and is a competition between four teams: Great Britain and Ireland, Europe, and the rest of the world, and an all woman team. The winners of the competition are presented with a trophy showing Shigar, and this was donated by the Aga Khan. On the 20th anniversary of Shigar's Derby win, a bronze statuette of the horse was presented to the winning jockey. A statue of Shigar stands in the grounds of Gilltown Stud, one of the Aga Khan's Irish stud farms. The story of Shigar's theft was made into a TV play with Stephen Ray and Gary Waldhorn, broadcast in March 1986 as part of the BBC's Screen 2 anthology series. The play was based on the few known facts plus a backstory described as plausible by Hugh Hebert, reviewing for The Guardian. The theft was also dramatized as the film Shigar, directed by Don Lewiston and starring Ian Holm and Mickey Rourke. There have also been two TV documentaries: Who Kidnapped Shigar, broadcast on RTE in March 2004, and Searching for Shigar, broadcast on BBC One in June of 2018. So even as recently as 2 years ago, this is still a big mystery, and no one got paid. They never found the horse. It's just up in the air.
That is so crazy. I mean, it's a horse. You can't hide a horse too well.
Right. And you would think, okay, if they're not going to pay you, at least turn them. like into a stud for your own horses and produce more race horses.
Right, exactly. Like use the horse for its purpose and then get like crazy good bred horses that you can resell then. You need
Right.
money that bad.
But I mean, I guess, you could never tell anyone interested like who the stud was cuz, then the jig is up at that point.
You could totally say this is a relative. His father or his stud is a relative of the famous Shigar. Like you can say that, like a wink wink. Well, not a wink wink, but you can say it's a relative of Shigar, and they'll be like, whoa, maybe this will be the next Shigar the second.
Maybe. But it's sad like, they don't even know what even happened to the horse.
That is pretty sad. I hate that because I'm really glad like the owner or the jockey, jockey, right? That's what we're calling them.
I don't know what you're about. Finish the sentence and I can tell you.
Oh, was sensitive of the horse's condition instead of just putting him back on the track after
Oh no,
at
that was the owner, the Agacon,
oh
and
Aga
the
Khan.
trainer.
Oh, okay. So never mind. I was like the jockey some credit, but I don't need to give the jockey any credit.
No, no credit for the jockey.
Well, that was quite sad and a mystery to say the least.
Right?
And now we're gonna downsize our animal to the size of a miniature poodle.
Oh,
Key, we are going to talk about the story of Masterpiece the poodle.
okay. I really thought you were gonna say Master P, as in the rapper, but okay.
I mean, you'll probably say and a na na going through this story, but
I refuse.
All right. So Count Alexis Pulaski was born in 1895. He was often referred to as a White Russian, a term applied to anti-communists who fought the Bolsheviks in the Russian Civil War. Following their defeat, he joined a large movement of exiles, and years later, he landed on American soil in 1926. Pulaski possessed the get the gab. As the Post later remarked, Pulaski is the kind of man who could sell a crate of Boy Scout handbooks to Soviet Union leader Nikita Khrushchev. His wit quickly infused him with the upper echelon of New York society, and he also dabbled in the world of dogdom, selectively breeding and showing Doberman pinschers as he had in Russia since 1912, while simultaneously running photography and groom businesses to eliminate success.
Hmm,
But his world would change in 1939 when he dog sat the poodle of his friend Gilbert Kahn. He immediately fell in love. So he switched breed affinities from Dobermans to poodles and never looked back. He had found his calling.
that's a drastic change.
I definitely think so, because like Dobermans are very like statuette looking dogs, and like dogs you don't want to look at for a long time. And then poodles are dogs that you want to just like, oh my gosh, like look at the poodle, look at his hair, like like
Poodles
you
are
want to.
mean though. They are very mean.
Yeah, I've met a poodle in real life, and it like growled at me when I looked at it in its eye, but it was like a regular sized poodle. It was like pretty big.
No, our cousin had I don't think it was a miniature poodle, but it wasn't big either. It's kind of like, well, maybe it was like miniature because it was kind of on the small side, but that thing was mean.
Yeah. Masterpiece is bigger than a Chihuahua, but he's not a large dog by any means. Probably like a Jack Russell size.
Yeah. Okay, then maybe I think darn, I think that dog's name was Coco. Maybe it was a miniature then because it really wasn't big, but it was
Mm.
like very mean. And our cousin Claude would have to like carry me in the house so the dog wouldn't bite me.
Oh man, that's a mean dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonder what's up with poodles.
I don't
Jeez.
know. They just have a bad temperament, I guess.
All right. So, with financing from his friend Khan in our Stalisvant Pierre, Pierrepont, another well-to-do heir and poodle man, Pulaski opened Poodles Incorporated at 51 West 52nd Street in Newark, New York in 1945, just a couple doors down from the famous and still operating 21 Club. Poodles Incorporated combined all the viable canine-related industries of the time, operating as a grooming salon, a boarding kennel, and an assortment of high-end dog furnishings, a Tiffany among dog suppliers, if you will.
Ooh la la.
But unlike other specialty dog shops, it caters strictly to its breed of choice. That means poodles and poodles only, with extreme prejudice.
Wow. Like, so you could come in with like a prize winning Pomeranian, they'd be like, get that trash out of here. We
Yeah,
only serve poodles.
yeah, they would scoff at you and spray you with water bottles and everything.
This, this poodle world is a harsh, harsh world,
I guess the poodle breeders are just as mean as the poodles.
I guess. The rough
The,
streets of poodle world.
yeah, you go to New York, New York, those poodles are rough.
Mm.
This exclusivity inevitably led to a social club vibe to Poodles Incorporated, which also served as a showcase for the dogs Pulaski had begun to breed around what he called the pursuit of happiness philosophy, contending that the poodle's true end in life is to supply his master with the maximum of pleasure. See, this guy has a gift of gab. Like that's a nice sentence right there.
Yeah, but I don't think poodles feel that way though.
I don't think they care.
I don't either.
Mm-mm. Pulaski achieved his pinnacle upon the birth of a litter on August 4th, 1946, as he became quick, completely taken aback by the demeanor, temperament, and charm of its largest pup. After 8 weeks of observation and training, he registered the gray dog with the AKC under the resolute name Pulaski's Masterpiece. Later, Pulaski reflected, it was as though Masterpiece himself was the very beginning of the breed.
Wow, he was deep into this.
He loved Masterpiece. Masterpiece made a grand debut less than a year later in the puppy class at Westminster in 1947. He barely survived a battle with distemper, which is a viral disease causing fever, coughing, and an excessive discharge of mucus. Masterpiece was sent off to New Jersey to recover for several weeks. Recovered and physically matured in a short time, he gathered enough points at regional shows to achieve a championship title and added obedience and utility titles in other and only a few short weeks after that, which was a record at the time. He was in fact the first toy dog to ever achieve the three: championship, obedience, and utility.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. He was Pulaski was on it with this dog. He wanted everyone to know who this dog was. He set out to prove the dog's mental mettle beyond New York, traveling to Chicago, St. Louis, and Los Angeles, where he was allegedly welcomed by parties of up to 100 guests and an equal number of dogs.
I believe it.
Pulaski deemed Masterpiece destined for even greater things beyond the sport. Pulaski devised a singular, rigid masculine cut for Masterpiece, exposing only the midriff, which he hoped would cast the dog in a less pigeonholing light than the pom-pom continental cut required in the show ring. So he even went beyond the regulation to have the regular poodle cut. He was like, no, no, no. Masterpiece is going to show his midriff, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, Masterpiece set his own standards. So
I
get with the
see.
program. Pulaski commissioned a complete set of clothes also, both amusing and serviceable, including pajamas, bathrobes, and raincoats for Masterpiece. With Pulaski serving as full-time press agent, Masterpiece was assigned his own bodyguard, who supervised his diet and head fed him during moody spells, a personal beautician who saw to his regular pampering, a former lion tamer who was imported to provide private instruction in party tricks, and a traveling companion, Lucy Kobasek, who saw the world with Masterpiece.
A lion tamer. Plasky is getting out of hand right now. He is getting all the way out of hand.
Pulaski's pretty out of pocket right now.
All the way. He can't even see the pocket at this point.
Cocktail parties at Pulaski's Upper East Side apartment were said to include guests from Mexico, France, Budapest, Boston, San Francisco, LA, and Rio de Janeiro. Representative from the press, as well as artists, veterinarians, investment bankers, and ladies and gentlemen of leisure. This was in 1940, 40 something, late 1940s. Like, so this is impressive stuff right here.
I agree. I wish I could be a lady of leisure.
Maybe it's not too late for you.
Hope not.
Oh, Masterpiece would perform on command, walking on his front or hind paws, so he can do a handstand or regular standing, communicating through grunts and growls. Famously, to the question, "Are you a communist, Masterpiece?" he would shake his head in vigorous denial.
I think that was a cover up.
You think so?
Yeah, you don't have to be vigorous with it. A simple mm-mm will suffice.
Right. Yeah. You put too much. You put too much English on it, and they're gonna be like, "Wait a second."
Right. Too much emphasis means it's suspicious.
Although disapproving tricks for their own sake, Pulaski claimed that Masterpiece's exceptional mental and muscular apparatus should be regularly exercised and refined. At Poodles Incorporated, 20 paintings of poodle fantasies were put on display as a nightclub harpist strummed in the background. The centerpiece was Masterpiece and his harem atop ornamental cushions, maintaining an elegant tranquility. It was most important that Pulaski's poodle appeared neither chained nor confined. They reposed at their leisure, were gracious to all comers, and proved by their behavior how easily they could be trained to perfection. Masterpiece's carrying case was designed as a deep picture frame befitting his name, and eventually he was accompanied by armed guards at either side of the animate masterpiece.
Wow. That's all I can say.
Masterpiece became so famous that Pakistani Prince Ali Khan tried to purchase him as a gift for his actress wife, Rita Hayworth, at the sum of $25,000. Pulaski balked at the thought of parting with his beloved companion, but claimed the purchase price apt, as Masterpiece earned $11,000 a year as a stud dog and model, necessitating his own bank account at Chase National. Pulaski claimed that he refused by shake of the head to mate with a female for less than $500, and ultimately sired approximately 350 dogs.
Whoa.
Yeah, maybe it sure is much easier in the dog world than in the horse world.
Yeah, because I think you can only have one horse at a time.
Yeah, that's very true.
Possibly maybe two, but I don't think they have more than that.
Mhm. Masterpiece was said to test and use all the products he endorsed for Poodles Incorporated. Not only shampoos, towels, matches, and bowls, but even a perfume called Kennel Number 9.
Okay, I am so done with this right now. Kennel number 9.
Kennel Number 9. I'll look that up on
This
eBay, see how much it's going for.
that the level of ridiculous that this man is going through.
I mean, you get a man with his passion, with his drive that Pulaski has, and you're gonna go beyond above and beyond. He truly did. Masterpiece also appeared as a spokesperson in ads for hosiery, shoes, drapery, and telephones, some of which graced the pages of Vogue magazine. Now, his traveling companion, Lucy Kopesek, reported that upon the arrival in Paris, Life magazine photographers started popping up everywhere, and the phone rang off the hook with press requests. Designer Marcel Rokas invited them to a show in which he presented a gray wool robe dress called Masterpiece. The model walked down the runway to the platform, and Kopesek handed her the masterpiece, whom performed beautifully. At a local dog show, even Masterpiece became unsettled by massive crowds. Like, he would get anxiety. Dogs would get anxiety in big crowds. That's normal. And had to be hoisted atop a 15 platform awaiting police rescue.
Oh my gosh.
Air France gave him a farewell party for 20 friends at the airport restaurant, where a special menu was prepared with a dish named in his honor. He continued in similar fashion to Deauville, the Hague, Brussels, Antwerp, and beyond.
Wow, so this was a famous little dog.
Yeah, this dog was world famous. Let me see. So, masterpiece fever only continued to heighten in his native land, and one of Pulaski's greatest stunts, deemed the "Miracle on 57th Street," upon the week leading up to the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show, Masterpiece led a parade of his comrades from Poodles Incorporated up Fifth Avenue to the department store Milgram's. There, the dogs joined a display of faux fur articles modeled after the curled poodle coat. From 9 in the morning to 8, sorry, from 9 in the morning to 6 at night, a playpen of Pulaski poodles occupied one window, and Masterpiece reclined in his red velvet-lined shadow box another, wrote the store's publicity director. For over a week, people in mid-Manhattan suddenly became more poodle conscious than ever before. Police were required to control the clamoring crowds.
Wow.
That's all. That's all you can say about this story. That's all you can say. In 1953, two of Masterpiece's children, Diego and Sushi, accompanied
Mm,
Claire. You got Diego and you got Sushi. What's going on?
that's cute.
Accompanied Claire Booth Luce as American ambassador to Italy. He had become a regular staple of talk shows, climaxing in a 2-month long stint co-hosting the Dog Show of Champions with Stella Stetson. He held his own each week with hunting retrievers and hounds, German Shepherd drill teams and seeing eye dogs, and a gang of Great Danes who he leaped over effortlessly. He then modeled Easter ensembles on the Dave Garrow Show, which was his last public appearance. Only a few weeks later, in late May, Pulaski's entourage went downstairs to relay a message to a Poodles Incorporated staff member before returning upstairs. Minutes later, Pulaski called his superstar to seduce potential customers who had wandered into the store, and Masterpiece did not respond. The store was searched frantically from top to bottom, but Masterpiece was nowhere to be found. Pulaski recounted the greatest dog in the world had disappeared from the face of the earth. The police were quickly notified. Over a course of several weeks, a 13-state alarm was sounded. Newspapers ran headlines, and Gotham Hosiery Company distributed 3,500 flyers seeking the return of its spoke dog. An ample reward was offered with promise of no questions asked. Even a puppy sired by Masterpiece was offered in exchange for the return of the Foundation poodle.
I don't want no knockoff masterpiece.
Right?
I want the real thing. Oh, we'll give you one of his puppies. Want that.
It's not the same.
It is not the same.
Just Johnny was selected from the remaining Pulaski stock as the dog most resembling his father. He was trotted out on television as appearing with Pulaski, who recounted all of Masterpiece's marked characteristics, pleading for his safe passage back to him. Only one person came forward with credible information, claiming to have seen a small gray poodle leaving Poodles Incorporated with a dark-haired woman in a red coat. A fashionable lady with a poodle dutifully heeling by her side was at that time an increasingly common sight. However, this particular duo had resonated with the witness due to the absence of a leash. Masterpiece would obey anyone who gave commands in dog show fashion, Pulaski reflected. The crime of which there were few clues was even reenacted on the Dave Garroway show, of which Masterpiece was the recurring guest. Ponderously, it showed the prize dog being removed from a cage, which is never mentioned in other resemblances of that infamous day. Whether it was simply a faulty memory, a fib to make the count appear less careless, or hints towards a more sinister cover up is unknown. In July 2nd, 2009, another reenactment was made by Comedy Central's Drunk History by co-host Mano Agapian, who recounted the events in history of Masterpiece the Poodle. One of the craziest theories is perhaps Masterpiece just decided to leave all the pomp and circumstance behind, or at least take a brief respite. It was not the first time he had disappeared. Once at 9 months old, he fled into the woods. He was on his own for 3 days in the New Jersey countryside before returning, pert and perky, to the doorsteps of the kennel. A year later, when Pulaski ran an errand, he trotted out of Poodle's Inc. and fled into traffic into a state into a Park Avenue linen shop, which called the police and returned him home. As Pulaski himself admitted, he undoubtedly realized that such a smart dog had little need of human supervision. Whether by his own lucid choosing or not, Masterpiece was on to a new adventure from which he would never return. And that's my story.
Damn. I, he was like bigger than the Beatles.
Bigger than the Beatles for sure.
This little show dog was just wow, that's crazy. And then he was stolen and no one knows what happened to him.
No, without a trace. I'm really excited for you to see the picture of him because the picture that can be found on the internet is him inside of his
Oh, I
frame
saw it.
doghouse. You saw it?
Yeah, and like I'm totally on board with the whole thing. I mean, his name was Masterpiece. Why not have his little carrier look like a frame?
It's so cute. And like his little beady eyes.
Like, yes, poodles are cute. I'll give them that. I do like poodles. I think they are very cute. And
Mhm.
Masterpiece was not an exception to that. He was super cute, and I like the little thing that they carried him in. But his Pulaski just was way too outrageous with it.
If only I could get a whiff of kennel number 9, I'll be good. My life will be complete.
Maybe that was like a one jar special, like just for Masterpiece only.
Only for masterpiece.
Yes. Well, your story wasn't. Well, I don't think either story was like sad. It's not like we got crazy gory details of what happened. They were just taken and no further
never
explanation.
and never seen again.
Yeah. But we're still going to bring this up. So,
So.
well, I guess I'll go. Like I was telling you before we started recording, this So Delicious, that's the brand, dairy free dark chocolate truffle cashew milk ice cream, or technically not ice cream, but a non-dairy frozen dessert, is the bomb. It's so
Like
good.
the bomb.
It is so good. And I'm not even like a big ice cream person, but this is so good.
I dig me some ice cream or milkshakes even.
Ugh. No, never been into those like that. This, I just got it because it was dairy free, and so I just wanted to try it, and it was chocolate, my favorite, so I just wanted to try it, and I am pleasantly surprised.
Well, I'm glad you tried something and it worked out versus you trying something and it be like, blah, you know?
Yeah, So Delicious has another flavor. It's like salted caramel, but I think it's maybe almond milk, but it's just like it's way, way, way too sweet. This one right here is like the perfect amount of sweetness. That salted caramel one is like just so overly sweet it like made me sick. But yes, everyone go out, try some dairy-free frozen desserts. They're quite good, quite good.
Well, you heard it here first. You heard it here first, folks. Key is not one to just love everything.
I'm not. I've talked about my dairy-free products on quite a few episodes, but this right here, like my oat milk and my cashew milk dark chocolate truffle, those have been my two delightful points in 2020. I found both of these in
Eh,
2020, and these have been my high points of 2020 so far.
I mean, hey, we need something. We need something for sure.
We do. We definitely do. So, anything good? You find a new brand of pepperoni that you like, or anything?
No, I'm trying to find another sauce brand I like because right now, um, um, like I enjoy spicy sauces, as you know,
Yes.
and as of right now, the one I like a lot is Dirty Dick's hot sauce, and it has like a tropical twist in it, and it's really good. But I wanna expand my horizon and get some different ones. You know, I don't want to just keep buying Dirty Dick's hot sauce over and over again. I want to get something else. But I just haven't pushed the gas on what to get because to get these craft hot sauces, you have to, well, in South Carolina at least, you have to get them from websites because stores around here don't sell them. And getting them from websites means you have to pay for shipping. And it's like I don't want to pay for shipping. I don't want to pay $17 for one bottle of sauce
Ooh,
that I probably won't
goodness.
like. Yeah. So not just yet. Not just yet. I will. We shall see. But
Well, I
I.
suggest the next time you're either up in North Carolina or down in Georgia, go to like a specialty store like the one me, you, and Ro went to, or
Hmm.
like, maybe like a Asian market or a Caribbean market. Like that way you can get something and not pay the shipping.
Okay. Yeah. Not pay shipping, just pay gas. No, I'm
Yeah,
just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's better.
right. But you're already down there, so might as well just stop and look around.
Stop and take a look around. Also, real quick, shout out to my friend Betsy, who I
Let's
told
see.
about the I told about the show and immediately started listening to it, and I was like so just like amazed that it was like that fast because it was like 9 or 10 p.m. and she was like, "Oh, you have a podcast?" And I sent her a link, and then boom, like, "Oh my gosh, like this story is crazy." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Your podcast." I'm listening to the one about the cowboy, and I was like, "What?" Like, I was just so impressed immediately.
And on that note, shout out to my twin brother Jay and his lady. They both
Jay.
subscribed to our YouTube channel and started listening. And I don't want I want to say her name is Tina. I hope I get that correct. I've only talked to her once, but like in my mind, I'm seeing Trina, but I'm like 90% sure it's Tina. So shout out to the two of you guys, and thanks for being listeners.
Tina, thank you so much.
And thanks to any new listeners we may have. Um, our Instagram, WStatPod or WStat_pod. That's the same for our Twitter. And we also have a Facebook group, which is We Shouldn't Talk About This Podcast group. Join us. It's lots of fun. And you can
And
also
also,
email us at we shouldn't talk about this at gmail.com.
and if you are on iOS, download Good Pods and keep track of our social on there.
Good pods. Well, with that being said, I think that wraps up our show. Well, not show ponies, because Masterpiece was not a pony. Pulaski will come chop my kneecaps out for
Yeah,
calling Masterpiece anything but a prize poodle.
exactly. Do not.
But I guess that concludes our prize pets crimes. So I'm Key.
And I'm V.
We shouldn't talk about this.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.